How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another video here for round 3 of the Chinese Grand Prix in season 7 of TransNation eSports Nationals. Going into this one, as you saw before, Harry leads the championship just ahead of Kyle and Thierry, and myself am down in P8 with 14 points I think it was, so not the best start to the season. Would have preferred to have got a few more at this stage, but on to this one now. And here in qualifying you can see that I'm out on my out lap and waiting up for Joe, my teammate, so I could give him slipstream down this huge straight. I think it's 1 kilometre long, so giving the slipstream and pulling out there. Probably pulled out a bit early, but still gave him a bit more top end speed on his lap. And now I'm going to try and start my lap on the medium tyres, but through the last turn go a bit wide and invalidate, so can't go on this one. As you can see here, Joe, he does set the provisional fastest lap of the race, but I think that was beaten shortly after, as later on in qualifying then going on, this is my flying lap actually, and you can see Joe ahead of me, giving me the slipstream like I did for him, so good teamwork there by the two of us, even though we weren't talking or anything during the race. Pull out probably a bit early from the slipstream, but still, like with Joe, got a bit of a benefit from it, and going now down towards the final turn, and luckily don't invalidate this time and cross the line to set a time good enough for P9. And you might be wondering why I was on the medium tyre, and I was hoping to qualify in P11 for this race so that I could do the hard to soft tyre strategy, because from the regional races during the week before this, it seemed like that was the best strategy to be on. But now right at the end of the session I'm in P11, so where I want to be, but I went out for a lap on the soft tyres just in case I ended up being in P10. I didn't want to start there on the mediums, so if I had to try and move up from P10 I could finish this lap, or if I dropped out a bit too far, say I was in P14 or 15, I wanted to set a proper lap on the softer tyre. So I'm going through the middle sector now and round about 6/10 up, because obviously the softer tyre, and I added a bit extra fuel for the medium laps I did. So end of the second sector now, 7 over 8/10 up actually, is through the very awkward long right handers, probably one of my weakest corners on the track, but managed to get pretty well through there on that occasion. And once look at the delta now, you can see how much it drops going down this straight, so it just shows how much of a benefit the slipstream was on this track. As into the hairpin now, Thierry sets the fastest lap, I think it was a 1:29.5, so very good lap by him. As I come around the final turn then, almost 9/10 up, but just before the line I brake to go red on my delta and don't improve, and at the end of everything I ended up in P12, so one place lower than what would have been optimal, but still pretty good, as Thierry takes pole position and teammate Joe with a very good second place. So as we go to the end of the formation lap now, you can see on the hard tyres, and I think everyone else in the top 10 apart from me on the hards and Rolly ahead of me in the Renault, he started on softs, but everyone else is on the medium tyre, so I'm going to be trying to do the medium to hard strategy, which is probably second best behind the hard to soft. But go to the 5 red lights now. 5 red lights are on, and I jumped the start. I think I just released the clutch too early. I don't know what made me do it, but it's happened, and got a drive through for that. But not sure who it was. I think it was Dennis behind me in the racing point. He reacted to me jumping the start and jumped it as well, so two of us have a drive through, but he had the right idea of just when he jumped it just keep going, whereas I for some reason stopped. I think I kind of thought that if I stopped I might not get a penalty for it, but that's not how the game works. So at the start dropped from P12 down to P14 as through the hairpin, tried to go around the outside of Dennis but can't do anything there. Is get a lot of understeer through this left-hander and through the next right-hander, then just trying to keep it tight because I was going to hit at the end of this lap, get the drive through out of the way, but through this left-hander you can see Nizzy ahead of me, he spins and I hit into the back of him, I wasn't able to avoid him there, and you can see now we're going to have to pit first to change my front wing and then pit to serve my drive through. So end of lap 1, then going to come into the pits and I'm going to pit for the soft tyre and pretty much do just a reverse strategy of what I wanted. So go on to the softs now, take them to about lap 8 or lap 9 and then go back onto the same set of hards to go to the end. So as we come out of the pits, then 15 seconds behind Dennis, who pit that lap to serve his drive through as well. So end of lap 2, then I come back in to drive through the pits to serve my penalty. But as we come out of the pits, you can see on the top left I still have DT beside my name because on the first lap I actually got 2 penalties, and I want to see a replay here now. When I hit Nizzy, I got a drive through penalty for that, but at the time I thought that notification was either just a warning for the collision or the reminder notification that I had to serve a drive through. So at the end of lap 3, then come back in to serve my second drive through and we're 44, almost 45 seconds behind the car ahead, who is Decky. And on lap 4, then finally go through the last turn for the first time in this race, and on lap 5 you can see just ending the first sector and Joe, my teammate, came into the pits. So that's how far we were behind the leaders. As on lap 6, Decky, I think he had a few spins, so he pulls into the pits and retires from the race. So I really don't understand people retiring, especially this early in the race, because if anyone was going to retire from this one, it should have been me after everything that happened in the first few laps. But everyone makes their own choices, I suppose. As starting lap 8 now, you can see I was scheduled to come into the pits at the end of this lap, but I was going to just try and go longer on these soft tyres to have fresher hards at the end when I do come in. So as we go through the first step, you can see the safety car is called out, and that has saved me in this race, because going to pit now at the end of that lap that I was originally scheduled to, put on the hard tyres again and be able to go to the end and be on the back of everyone in the train under the safety car. So as we head now to the safety car restart, my tyres are actually very warm because obviously I was the last person to catch up to the safety car queue, but at this time I was just going to pretty much stay behind the cars ahead, make moves when they presented themselves and not really take too many risks, because I felt that I had pretty decent pace, and with only having one warning at the moment, people ahead of me would have penalties and might be able to make up a few spots and maybe get into the points at the end of the race. And as we go on to lap 11 now, starting lap 12, I was behind the 2 Ferraris of Johnny Stokes and Scotty, but you can see there Scotty lets his teammate through because Johnny was on the medium tyres, and obviously they were much better at this stage of the race. As through turn 2 you can see there one of the Renaults, I think it's Sarakia, I don't know if he was tapping main go around or if he spun himself, but moved me up a position and still managed to be on the back of everyone. There's a very big train of cars ahead, so this is working great for me. I managed to keep my ERS pretty well, and that's going to be something I'm going to try and do throughout this race, because it was something that I didn't feel like I'd done very well last time out in Bahrain. Very inefficient when making overtakes and things like that with the ERS, but I'm going to try and improve on it here from the future. As through the long right-handers turn 13, using a small bit there, but I knew that there was going to be no way I'd make an overtake here, and cars ahead are pulling away, so it's obvious to me they're using their ERS, but into the braking zone I knew that I was going to close back up with the concertina effect, and I used probably half as much ERS as Scotty ahead of me, but I'm still as close to him as I was at the start of the straight. So that was really my thought process through this race. Just think about things more before committing to anything, as the DRS is enabled now on this lap, and later on to lap 13 into the start of sector 3. I'm not sure what happened, but I don't know if Scotty broke really early there or I just braked a bit late, but almost crashed into the back of the Ferrari. Luckily managed to avoid him, but did lose a bit of time there using ERS now to try and close up a small bit, but luckily still managed to get the DRS, which will help me close back up and yeah, just get back onto the back of the train. As into the hairpin, Scotty pretty much does what I done a few corners earlier, but done a bit more seriously, going very deep at the hairpin and gives me pretty much the free position. And onto the next lap then, into turn 1, we're still well within range of Johnny ahead and Chris in the Mercedes. And into turn 2, Johnny tries to go down the inside of Chris and Chris just turns in. I think he was pretty much entitled to do that because I don't think Johnny was far enough alongside, so unfortunate for Johnny, but his loss is my gain, as now we're on the back of Chris, who I think he had damage at this stage. As you can see, a lot of understeer through turn 7, he goes wide and that's going to compromise his line through turn 8 and he goes wide again. I try to go down the inside, give me the outside for turn 9, but Chris comes back across me to take the racing line, and I felt that I was probably entitled to the room there. I was fully alongside the Mercedes driver and he just went to the right to take the best line through that turn, but luckily I didn't get any damage from that and didn't lose too much time, so not really too bad at that. As you can see there, Mizzy, who he had the collision with on lap 1, he spun out on the exit of turn 13, so another free position for me, as Scotty has managed to get past Chris now on the end of lap 15. And now I felt that I needed to get past the Mercedes so I could try and stick with Scotty and hopefully he couldn't get away too quick. And as you saw there on the pit straight, Chris's light was flashing in the back of his car, so I knew he was below 20% on the ERS and I have around 85, so knew I was going to make a pretty easy overtake on this lap hopefully, but unfortunately for me he got the DRS from Scotty ahead and I didn't want to use too much DRS, as I said, wanted to use it pretty intelligently, so turned it off and didn't commit to a move on this lap. But on the next lap then, through turn 12 and 13, get a pretty good run. As you can see here on the exit, Chris is going a bit wide, but that doesn't really matter through this turn. You can take a few different lines, but engage the DRS, and you might have noticed there before I turned on the DRS I turned off the overtake because I knew I was going to make the move pretty easy with the DRS, so managed to save a lot there and still get the move done. But unfortunately, being behind Chris, we've dropped to about 2 seconds behind Scotty, who has a 3-second penalty, as does Mano ahead of him. But on lap 19 you can see Mano, he's spun off to the side there. I think he had a bit of an incident with Harry, so unfortunate for him. But as we go to the end of lap 10, you can see there Harry in the pit, so I think he might have got damaged with the collision with Mano. So up into P9 now, and really at this point I would have been very happy with this result, as ahead Scotty is caught up to Patrick in the Haas and he has a bit of a moment on the exit. He goes onto the grass and we managed to get him down the inside of turn 8. At the time I wasn't sure whether to go for that move. I didn't know if he was going to come to take the racing line when he got back on the track, but committed to the move and managed to work out pretty well for me. And it was a pretty important move actually, because I was going to be the third person in the DRS train behind Patrick, but Now I'm going to be the first driver out of the two of us to have a chance to get past the Haas driver, as through turn 13 he had a bit of a slide, and once again his ERS slide is flashing, and used the ERS on the exit, turned it off again before engaging the DRS to save it, because I knew the move was going to get done. And down the inside of the hairpin we move up into P7, and there's a bit of a gap now to the cars ahead, but I still felt I might be able to get a few more positions on penalties. As through turn 13 onto the straight, you can see ahead Rowley in the Renault has 6 seconds of penalties, and we're 7.1 behind, so I felt I might be able to get past him on penalties. Wasn't too sure about Dennis ahead of me in the racing point, because he's clean of any penalties at this stage. But for the next few laps, Scotty, he managed to get past Patrick pretty easily as well, as on lap 25 you can see they're saying new personal best. But we managed to keep Scotty pretty much at arm's reach. He was never really close enough on the back straight to be able to get past me, and just using the ERS enough to just about stay ahead, as lap 26 a new fastest lap of the race. And now you can see on the delta as we go on to the final lap, Rowley ahead, he has 6 seconds of penalties, and we're only 2 and a bit seconds behind him, so should be able to jump him. But Dennis ahead of him, he has 3 seconds of penalties, and at the moment we're 3.4 seconds behind. So at the start of the lap I had around 40% ERS saved up, so for this final lap now I'm going to push really hard to try and close that gap under the 3 seconds and try and get the P5 from the racing point. So through the left-hander off turn 7, yeah, pretty nicely, and again through turn 8, and even after doing 20 odd laps on these tyres, they still felt pretty good at the moment. And even with the tyre wear indicator shown on the MFD, still felt pretty good, as through the second sector we're 300s up on our personal best even at this stage. And out of the right hander get a pretty good run onto the straight and go to drain most of the ERS there, leaving at around 8%, because I'd go down the straight, still have something for the car to use when it's in medium mode, as Terry wins the race. So huge congrats to him after some of the luck he's had in the last probably full season really. And but for me, through the last turn coming up to the line, you can see there Tweesprong has 8 seconds of penalties, and we jump him, and we also managed to jump Dennis, and we come home in P4. So Thierry wins the race ahead of my teammate Joe in second, so very good result for him and for the team. And then Kyle rounds out the podium. You can see here that I am in P4, but Christian or Tweesprong had 5-second penalty removed, so he actually finished P4 and I finished P5, but still more than happy with that after the race I had. And hopefully the next one isn't really as eventful, maybe a bit more straightforward. But that's it for this one. Until the next time, thanks for watching. See you then.